The little girl asked me why I kept walking past her bedroom door all night, even though I'd been downstairs the entire time. I remember just staring at her because she said it so casually while eating cereal, like she was talking about the weather. "You were looking in my room?" she said again. "You kept stopping outside my door." Her parents had already left for work by then. I actually checked the time on the microwave because suddenly my stomach felt weird. 7:14 a.m. I'd only been babysitting there one night, and up until maybe 2 hours earlier, everything had seemed completely normal. It was a Friday night in late November. The parents, Mark and Elise, were going to some company dinner downtown and needed someone to watch their daughter Ava until morning, because they planned on staying at a hotel afterward. Easy money. Ava was 6. Quiet kid, really smart honestly. Their house sat near the edge of a newer neighborhood where construction was still happening farther down the street, so half the homes around them were empty at night. I got there around 6 p.m. Mark walked me through the usual stuff. Emergency contacts on the fridge. Ava goes to bed at 9. Alarm system automatically arms at midnight. Don't open the back door, because the sensor was broken and it triggered false alarms sometimes. Pretty standard. The only thing that stood out was how many interior cameras they had. Tiny black cameras mounted in corners of hallways, kitchen, living room, even facing the staircase upstairs. I joked about it feeling like a casino. Elise laughed awkwardly and said they'd had problems before moving there. I asked what kind of problems and she just said, "Nothing that matters now." Then she changed the subject immediately. Around 8:30, Ava asked me something strange while I was helping her brush her teeth. She pointed toward the long hallway leading to her bedroom and asked, "Did the tall man come tonight?" I kinda laughed because I thought she meant some imaginary friend thing, but she stayed serious. "The one that watches Mom's room." I asked her what she meant, and she shrugged like she severely regretted bringing it up. "Never mind. Kids say creepy stuff sometimes, so honestly I let it go." After I tucked her into bed, I went downstairs and started watching TV in the living room. Around maybe 10:40, the power flickered once, just quick enough for the television to shut off and reboot. At the exact same time, one of the hallway cameras upstairs made this sharp static popping sound through the monitor near the kitchen. I noticed because the monitor briefly switched feeds by itself. For maybe 2 seconds, I saw the upstairs hallway camera. Something moved past it fast. Not clearly enough to identify, just a blur crossing frame. Then the monitor switched back automatically. I remember staring at it, wondering if somebody else inside the house had accessed the system remotely. I actually walked upstairs to check on Ava after that. Everything looked normal. Her bedroom door cracked open slightly, nightlight glowing blue. She was asleep facing the wall. But farther down the hallway, the master bedroom door stood open, even though I specifically remembered Elise shutting it before leaving. I closed it again and went back downstairs. About 15 minutes later, the monitor beeped softly. The upstairs hallway feed had activated again by itself. This time the hallway was empty, except the master bedroom door was open, again, wide open. I just sat there staring at it. Maybe I'd remembered wrong earlier. Maybe it never latched properly. Still, it bothered me enough that I muted the TV and listened carefully. The house was dead quiet. Then I heard one floorboard creak upstairs. Slow pressure, like somebody shifting weight carefully. I called Ava's name once, no answer. Another creak, different spot. I grabbed my phone, headed upstairs again, trying not to overreact. Halfway up the staircase, I noticed the hallway light was off now. I definitely hadn't turned it off before. I reached the top and froze because Ava's bedroom door was fully open this time, wider than before. Her room was empty. Blankets tossed aside, window closed, closet door open. For maybe 2 full seconds, I genuinely thought someone had taken her. Then I heard her voice behind me whisper. I couldn't sleep. I spun around so fast I almost slipped. Ava stood halfway down the hallway holding her stuffed rabbit. She looked more confused than scared. I asked why she got out of bed without telling me. She said she heard movement in her parents' room and thought they came home early. Every hair on my arm stood up after she said that because I'd been downstairs the entire time. Nobody could have entered without passing me. I checked the master bedroom immediately. Empty. But the bathroom light inside was on now. Sink running slightly. Thin stream of water. I shut it off and honestly started feeling stupid for freaking myself out. Old houses make noises. Kids wander at night. Maybe I accidentally turned lights on without remembering. Still, I locked Ava's door after putting her back to bed. Not because I thought someone was inside. More because my nerves were getting bad and I didn't want her wandering around again. Around midnight, the house alarm beeped automatically as it armed itself. Note: right after that, every camera feed on the monitor downstairs froze simultaneously for maybe 3 seconds. Then they came back online one by one. Except the upstairs hallway camera. That feed stayed black, no signal. I called Mark thinking maybe their system glitched during the power flicker earlier, but he didn't answer. Sent straight to voicemail. I texted him instead. No response. Then the back door alarm chimed once from the kitchen panel. Open, closed. I nearly dropped my phone. I checked the kitchen immediately. Back door locked. Nothing outside except darkness beyond the yard. The weird thing was the security panel now showed the sensor activating at 11:13 p.m., almost an hour earlier. The timestamp kept changing every few seconds like the system couldn't sync properly. That's when I heard footsteps upstairs again. Fast as time. 3 or 4 quick steps overhead. Ava started crying immediately after. I ran upstairs and found her sitting upright in bed shaking. Before I could even ask what happened, she pointed toward her closet. He was in there. I opened the closet instantly. Empty. Just clothes and storage boxes. But something smelled wrong. Sweat maybe. Or damp clothes. A human smell. Strong enough that I noticed it immediately. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Static at first, then breathing. Slow breathing. I hung up immediately. 10 seconds later, same number called again. This time a man whispered, "Check the cameras." Then the line disconnected. I remember my hands shaking while pulling up the monitor downstairs. The hallway feed upstairs had returned. At first everything looked normal. Then I realized someone was standing at the far end of the hallway, just barely visible near the staircase. Tall figure, completely still. The quality was grainy enough that details blurred together, but it looked like somebody facing directly toward the camera. I sprinted upstairs so fast I barely remember moving. Hallway empty when I got there. Nobody near the stairs. Nobody downstairs either when I checked. Every door and window still locked. I called Mark again. This time he answered, sounding half asleep and annoyed, until I told him someone might be inside the house. Silence for maybe 2 seconds. Then he asked me a question that made my chest tighten instantly. "Did you check the attic door?" I didn't even know there was an attic door. He told me it was in the upstairs hallway ceiling near a bathroom. I looked up slowly while still on the phone. The attic hatch hung open maybe 6 inches, black gap visible above it. I swear to God I hadn't noticed it earlier. Mark suddenly sounded fully awake now. He told me to take Ava outside immediately and get to the neighbors. Don't investigate. Don't stay inside. Just leave. While he was talking, something shifted above the ceiling. Heavy movement, directly overhead. I grabbed Ava so fast she started crying harder because I accidentally hurt her arm pulling her off the bed. The hallway lights shut off right as we reached the stairs. Complete darkness upstairs except for the blue night light behind us. Then came this loud bang from above, like somebody dropping onto the attic floor. Ava screamed. I practically carried her downstairs. Halfway to the front door, the kitchen camera monitor switched feeds again by itself. Every screen now showed different rooms inside the house, except one. The final feed displayed somebody standing in Ava's bedroom doorway upstairs, tall, motionless, watching the staircase. I didn't wait to see more. We ran outside barefoot into freezing cold air and sprinted to the neighbor's house across the street. Police arrived maybe 12 minutes later. They searched the entire property for almost an hour. Eventually, one officer came back outside holding a backpack covered in insulation dust. They found it inside the attic crawl space above Ava's room, along with food wrappers, water bottles, blankets. Someone had been living up there for at least several days. Maybe longer. but they never found the person. The attic connected to unfinished construction lots behind the neighborhood through a narrow maintenance gap nobody knew existed. What still bothers me, though, really bothers me, is what Ava said the next morning while her parents were talking to police in the kitchen. She looked at me eating cereal and quietly asked, "Why were you walking outside my room all night?" I told her I wasn't, and she just frowned at me like I was lying. "Yes, you were," she said, "but the other one was taller." The baby monitor started whispering my name before the kids were even asleep. Not crying, not static, an actual whisper, low and scratchy. "Emily." I remember freezing in the hallway with this stupid plastic cup of apple juice in my hand, because at first I honestly thought maybe the TV was on somewhere upstairs. Then it came again through the monitor clipped to my jeans. "Emily, come upstairs." The voice sounded wrong, male maybe, hard to tell through the distortion. But the kids were both downstairs with me in the living room. I looked directly at them when it happened. 6-year-old Noah was building Legos on the rug. His little sister Maddie was half asleep beside him watching cartoons. Neither of them reacted, like they didn't hear it at all. I muted the monitor immediately and asked Noah if his parents had cameras in the house. He shrugged without looking up and said, "Dad says not to unplug the attic one." I laughed a little because I thought he meant smoke detectors or something. Then I asked what attic. Noah looked up finally and pointed toward the ceiling above the kitchen. "The man goes up there when Mom's gone." I honestly thought he was joking. Kids say weird stuff all the time. But something about the way he said it, calm, casual, made my stomach tighten instantly. I'd babysat maybe 20 different families by then. This house already felt strange before I even walked in. Not haunted strange, just tense. The parents were arguing quietly when I arrived. The dad kept checking outside through the curtains while explaining bedtime routines. The mom interrupted him twice, correcting little details, like she was nervous he'd forget something important. Then, right before leaving, she pulled me aside near the front door and said, "If anyone knocks tonight, do not answer it, even if they say they know us." That part stuck with me because she said it fast, like rehearsed. I asked if they were expecting someone, and she immediately shook her head too hard. "No, just don't answer." Then they left. Around 9 p.m., I got the kids upstairs and started putting Maddie to bed. Noah refused to sleep in his room. He kept insisting he wanted the hallway light on because he hated when the footsteps started. Again, kid stuff. That's what I told myself. But while I was reading Maddie a story, I noticed Noah staring at the ceiling instead of his book. Listening, I asked what he was doing and he whispered, "He's awake." Right then, 3 slow creaks moved across the ceiling above us, heavy enough that dust actually drifted down near the closet light. I stopped reading immediately. The house had an attic. Old houses make noise. That's all it was, except the footsteps didn't sound random. They moved deliberately from one side of the ceiling to the other. Pause, then another step. Noah pulled his blanket over his head without saying another word. I checked every upstairs room after the kids fell asleep. Windows locked, closets empty, nothing unusual. But when I walked into the master bedroom, I noticed something weird beside the dresser. Tiny insulation fibers scattered across the carpet. Pink insulation, fresh enough that it hadn't been vacuumed yet. I looked up and saw the attic hatch slightly crooked in the ceiling. Not fully closed, just enough to leave a narrow black gap visible. Stood there, staring at it longer than I probably should have. Then the baby monitor crackled loudly in my hand again. Static first, then breathing. Slow breathing. Somebody exhaling directly into the microphone. I backed out of the bedroom immediately after that and went downstairs trying not to freak myself out. Around 10:15, the power flickered once, just enough for the lights to blink. The TV shut off. Everything went dark for maybe 2 seconds before coming back. The second the lights returned, the kitchen cabinet beside me was open. I know it sounds dumb, but I noticed because I'd leaned against that exact counter 30 seconds earlier while texting my friend. The cabinet definitely wasn't open then. I closed it, tried laughing it off again. Then I heard something metallic hit the floor upstairs. Loud, like a tool dropping. Noah started screaming immediately after. I ran upstairs and found him sitting upright in bed, crying hysterically. He kept pointing toward his bedroom closet, saying, "Somebody whispered through the wall." I checked the closet. Nothing there. But I did notice the vent cover above his shelf hanging loose slightly. One screw missing completely. I asked Noah what he heard exactly. He wouldn't repeat it, just kept saying he wanted his parents. I brought both kids downstairs after that because honestly I didn't want to be upstairs either anymore. We stayed in the living room with every light on. Around 11 p.m. somebody knocked on the front door. 3 slow knocks, not aggressive, just deliberate. Every hair on my arm stood up because I remembered what the mom said earlier. Noah heard it too. He immediately whispered, "Don't open it." Then another knock came. This time from the back door. Maddie started crying. I grabbed my phone ready to call the parents, but before I could dial, my phone buzzed first. "Unknown number," I answered, thinking maybe it was them. A man whispered, "You need to leave the house." Then the call disconnected. No explanation, nothing. I tried calling the parents immediately after, but both calls went straight to voicemail. That's when the security alarm beeped softly near the hallway. One of the upstairs motion sensors had activated. I stared at the keypad trying to process it, because nobody should have been upstairs. The kids were both beside me on the couch. Another sensor triggered, maybe 5 seconds later. Different room, then another, moving slowly across the second floor. I remember backing toward the kitchen while holding Maddie, because my brain still refused to fully accept what was happening. Maybe the alarm malfunctioned. Maybe a pet somehow got loose. Then the baby monitor turned on by itself sitting on the coffee table. Static filled the room. And underneath it, footsteps. Clear footsteps moving above us. Noah started sobbing quietly. "He's coming downstairs." I grabbed the fireplace poker without even thinking and locked us inside the pantry near the kitchen. It was the only room with a solid door lock. I called 911 whispering because somehow whispering felt safer. While talking to dispatch, I heard footsteps cross the kitchen outside. Slow, unhurried, cabinet doors opening one by one, then closing. The operator kept asking if I could see the intruder. I couldn't. But then somebody stopped directly outside the pantry door. Silence. Complete silence. I could hear Maddie breathing against my shoulder. Then 3 soft knocks tapped against the pantry door from the outside. Same rhythm as before. I nearly dropped my phone. The dispatcher heard it too because she immediately told me officers were close. The person outside the pantry started speaking quietly then. Male voice. "Calm. Emily, the kids' parents aren't coming back." My stomach completely dropped because I never told dispatch my name. I don't even remember realizing that in the moment. I just remembered Noah suddenly whispering something terrifying beside me. "That's not the attic man." Then footsteps thundered above us again. Fast this time, running across the ceiling directly overhead. The person outside the pantry heard it too, because the voice stopped instantly. Everything went dead quiet for maybe 10 seconds. Then chaos exploded upstairs. Heavy crashing, furniture slamming. One loud scream cut off suddenly. The man outside the pantry sprinted toward the stairs immediately after. I heard him shouting something but couldn't understand the words. Another crash shook the ceiling hard enough that dust fell through the pantry vent. Maddie started screaming now too. The dispatcher kept yelling for me to stay hidden because officers were pulling up outside. Then all the sounds upstairs stopped at once. Completely. No footsteps, no movement. Just silence again. Police arrived maybe 30 seconds later. I heard them enter the house shouting commands. Eventually, an officer opened the pantry door and got us out safely. But the next part still messes with me, because none of it made sense. They searched the entire house. Found signs someone had definitely been living inside the attic for weeks, maybe longer. Blankets, food wrappers, empty water bottles. There were even small drilled holes between the attic floor and bedroom ceilings where somebody had apparently been watching the rooms below, but they only found one person inside the house. The father, bloody, disoriented, hiding in the upstairs bathroom with a broken flashlight in his hand. At first, police thought he was the intruder until the mother arrived screaming from outside. Turns out the parents had been separated secretly for months because somebody had been stalking the family, breaking into houses they stayed at, following them repeatedly after moving states. The dad had apparently been checking the attic every night for weeks because he was convinced the stalker somehow kept getting inside. That unknown caller who warned me to leave, it was him. He'd returned to the house after realizing his wife forgot her purse there earlier. He saw movement through an upstairs window and went inside before police arrived. According to officers, he encountered someone in the attic crawl space above Noah's bedroom. They fought, but when police searched the attic minutes later, nobody was there anymore. No escape point either, just disturbed insulation leading toward the far corner wall. They assumed the intruder fled during the confusion, but one thing never lined up afterward: the motion sensors. Police checked the alarm logs later. The sensors activated before the father ever arrived back home, meaning somebody was already moving upstairs before he entered the house. Two different people may have been inside simultaneously. I tried forgetting the whole thing after that. Stopped babysitting completely for almost a year. Then maybe 6 months later, I got another call from an unknown number around midnight. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. At first all I heard was static, then slow breathing. Then a child's voice whispered softly, "He's back in the attic." The line disconnected immediately after. Police traced nothing. The family had moved again by then. Different state, different address. I never found out who made that call. But sometimes when I can't sleep, I still think about what Noah whispered inside the pantry that night while somebody stood outside the door using my name. That's not the attic man.